Pam, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Kevin? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Monday, March 7th, meeting. I am very excited to actually see that we have a lot of people here. The pandemic is definitely easing, and it's a nice thing to see. I'd like to go ahead and call to order and begin with the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Ms. Bowers.
Tonight's invocation is by a Bengali poet, Rabindranath Tagore. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ann Wilson of Boy Scout Troop 456. Ann, if you'd like to come forward to the podium.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Angelou.
Here.
Bowers.
Here.
McGregor. Here. Padova.
Here.
Renner.
Here.
Schnetzer.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Thank you. Item B, additions or corrections to the agenda. Do we have anything?
Well, I have something, but I won't bring it forward.
Okay. Item C, we have hearing of visitors. At the beginning, Mayor, I believe you have a proclamation.
I do, thank you. So March is actually National Developmental Disabilities Month. I know we have a resolution coming forward for Women's History Month as well. And I'm sure our council members know we have at least 2 organizations here in the city of Gahanna that are focused on serving the developmental disability community. I'm very honored tonight to have 2 representatives, actually several representatives, of ARC Industries here today. So Amanda Smith is their Chief Culture Officer, or Chief, is that right? Yes, no, Chief Services Officer. Jessica Garrett, Chief Culture Officer, and Ethan Berner, who is a participant in ARC, and he's also president of their Participant Advisory Council. So I'd like to invite Ethan and Amanda forward to present a proclamation to them recognizing National Developmental Disabilities Month. I'm not going to read. As you know, I don't read these because they're long. but just to kind of summarize, and so in 1987, President Reagan was in office when he declared March National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month to urge all Americans to join us in encouraging and providing opportunities for our fellow citizens with developmental disabilities to lead productive lives and to achieve their full potential, and to bring awareness to the barriers that they still face in our communities where they live and work and play. ARC Industries is a 501c3 nonprofit based here in Gahanna. They actually have 2 facilities here in Gahanna. We're very proud of that. And their mission is to support individuals with disabilities in achieving their life goals. They serve more than 1,100 individuals throughout the Central Ohio area, and they've been doing so for more than 50 years, which is pretty impressive. They do offer several services, including community-based vocational programs that include paid internships at or above minimum wage, which is pretty awesome, transportation to and from service locations, virtual services that keep individuals connected, and support designed to assist individuals with obtaining employment in their local communities. So ARC Industries is proudly recognized as a premier provider of services for individuals with intellectual and development disabilities in Central Ohio, and has achieved their mission by helping individuals access the community where they live and work, and by helping them to develop independence, self-advocacy, and skills important to employment and community membership. So it's with great pride that I do urge Gahanna citizens to recognize the contributions of individuals with developmental disabilities and the accomplishments of ARC Industries in empowering them to achieve independence and full potential. And I do hereby proclaim the month of March 2022 as National Developmental Disabilities Month in Gahanna. Thank you for the work that you do for our community. You can turn around, we'll take a picture. speak? I think Ethan wants to say something. You want to hold this? This is the paparazzi. You want to make a comment or two?
Sure.
Just right in here.
I accept the population of all of our East. They're the best, is what they do. Thank you. It's a good honor to do this. Thanks.
Ethan, thank you very much for that. Okay, we do have 2 speaker slips. First one, Sharon Montgomery. Ms. Montgomery, I think you know, state your name and address for the record.
Sharon Montgomery, 572 Bonington Way in Gahanna. I strongly support Ms. Bauer's efforts to ensure fair housing in Gahanna. I also strongly support her efforts to engage Gahanna in more regional issues. Her presentation at Committee of the Whole last week was quite informative and very well organized. With my poor hearing, I wasn't able to get everything mentioned that members said after her presentation, but I think I correctly got the gist of it. There seemed to be full support for the concept of fair housing, but some doubt as to whether it's enough of a problem in Gahanna to warrant action. In my opinion, enough of a problem is irrelevant. Even if denial of the basic right to shelter is uncommon in Gahanna, we still need to act. Denial of that basic right should not be allowed to any degree. I was not surprised and was pleased that I heard no comments of the kind I have heard elsewhere about discrimination. But for the record, I'd like to share the single most valuable lesson I got in more than 4 years of college. Discrimination is too often defended on the grounds of, we aren't friends with everyone, we choose our friends. Too often, this is deliberately used to defend excluding an entire group of people from the choice process. The race relations course I took in the late 80s at OSU taught me that there are differences between individual discrimination, that is, choosing individuals who we will associate with, and group discrimination, which is in eliminating an entire group of people from our choice process. There's also a difference between relevant and irrelevant discrimination. I can give you no better example than the one I learned in that class. It is irrelevant to discriminate against the entire class group of redheads for the job of bus driver. It is relevant to discriminate against the entire group of blind people for the job of bus driver. I sincerely hope my government will move forward on making sure our community does not discriminate on a group or irrelevant basis for who can live with us here in Gahanna. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker slip I have is for Ms. Jeannie Hoffman.
Hello,
Ms.
Jeannie
Hoffman?
Hoffman, 708 Waybon Drive, Gahanna. It's been a while, so I have a few things to say. First thing is Planning Commission. I know you guys don't really oversee Planning Commission, but it would be great if they, as a body, chose to put their videos or their recordings up on YouTube. That's all. They should just be there with everybody else's. Committee of the Whole, I would love it if you would add community participation to that. If you had that last week, I would have asked these questions. On the fair housing policy, the need, what's the current process, laws, protections for rental discrimination, and considering unearned income as a source of income? I'm not convinced that this is a local issue, but look forward to hearing more as you work through the process and vet the potential policy. The cost, I know it's a newly created, it will be a newly, well, it was said it would be a newly created board, which would be volunteer, but there's still costs involved with that, administrative costs, and enforceability. What would the cost for enforceability look like? Just questions I would have. And I know you said it was not meant to be punitive, which is great, but maybe just starting with a letter through the database to rental property owners. I imagine that the big companies that have property managers they know the laws. The smaller single-family homeowners that are renting, maybe they don't know the laws and they're the ones that might be having a problem. And How would a potential renter know that we had this policy? I assume it'll be on the website, but how would they know to go look for it? And by the time they were, if they thought they were discriminated against, by the time they came to the city, went through the process, that rental is gone now. So what's the benefit to the renter? I'm not sure, I'm not sure the end game. Is it for the renter, or is it, the only thing I can see is that we'll bring up repeat offenders. If this, and leases are so long, it might be years before we even know that information. And then on the topic of housing policy, what I would truly like to see is a way to get quality, affordable housing projects in this community. I know lots of people will hate to hear that and see it as a negative, but I don't see it that way. I know it's probably not realistic, especially with the current shortage and newly projected shortage of housing stock, coupled with the big influx of jobs coming to the area. To me, that's a policy that could benefit so many, especially young families and single parents. And seeing the newly proposed Gahanna vision statement, that makes sense. As Councilwoman Padova pointed out, and I'm just paraphrasing because I don't have time to go back and look up her words exactly, but anytime you have the opportunity to help a single mother access our Gahanna schools, we should make that happen. If source of income is part of that, then I'm all for it. In my opinion, Gahanna can't become so exclusive because housing costs and property taxes are so high that only the wealthiest of families can afford to live here. And we are doing ourselves a disservice knowingly letting that happen. I fear that's the way we're headed now, and I'm sure, is that my time? Can I have one more paragraph of time?
Please.
I fear that's the way we're headed now, and I'm not sure that we have time to reverse that course. The last topic I wanted to talk about was electronic constituent communication, or whatever you guys are talking about in Committee of the Whole. Currently, while you work through this, I would suggest at a bare minimum, if a resident sends an email on a public hearing agenda item, and it is decided not to read into the record, which I think is the way you guys are all headed, that at a minimum, you should state there were X number of emails on this topic, and council should acknowledge publicly that they did all read them and that they are going to be attached to the appropriate agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any more speaker slips?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item, item D, public hearings. There are none. Item E, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept a consent agenda as published?
So moved.
Have a first by Mr. Snetzer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Bowers. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor. Yes. Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Angelou.
Yes.
Thank you. Item F, resolutions. We have one resolution, the resolution 0008, 2022, resolution recognizing and honoring Women's History Month. Ms. Bowers.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to start from up here, and then I will come down and share with our special guest, Amanda Ferguson, tonight. Thank you to the mayor for issuing a proclamation. I think it's wonderful that we've got an opportunity to sort of highlight two very important things this month. I am also not going to read the resolution in full. It was already presented at Committee of the Whole, and it's published on the agenda. I wanted to highlight some work that our guest Amanda Ferguson has done and work that has gone into this resolution. So Amanda works at the Ohio Herb Center and has been a very devoted keeper of Gahanna history. Not only does she maintain and research and compile research related to Gahanna's founding, Gahanna's growth, how Gahanna became what it is now and which helps guide us in where we're going. But Amanda herself is part of that history. Last year, Amanda was recognized as a COSI, Center of Science and Industry, STEM star. Recognizing her efforts in promoting composting, gardening, natural environment, and all things related to suburban gardening and maintaining our green space here in a community like Gahanna. I want to highlight a few of our paragraphs that Amanda helped us put together and recognize some of the history, women's history here in Gahanna. Due to the efforts of the Herb Ladies, Jane Giroux, also known as Bunny Giroux, Lucy Seeds, Ruth Rochenstein, Trudy Miller, and Ruth Wilkie, and thank you to Ms. Angelou for helping me with those pronunciations. Our community was put on the map through their efforts and love of herbs, teaching all over the state of Ohio on these incredible plants and their uses. 50 years ago, Bunny Giroux led a successful campaign to establish Gahanna as the herb capital of Ohio, and Lucy Seeds, another of those herb ladies, was dedicated to the preservation of natural resources and the establishment and protection of parkland. She was the first director of Parks and Rec here in the city of Gahanna, and she was instrumental.
Wrong. She was not. Sorry.
That's my fault then.
Go ahead. We'll have to change that.
She was instrumental in the city's acquisition of land that is now Gahanna Woods, according to the research that our clerk and that Amanda was able to put together for us. So we are grateful for the work of the Herb Ladies and many women who have come together to help create history that led to the foundation of Gahanna.
Sorry, I just took it to the same.
I just want to thank Marissa for giving me the opportunity to help her with this project. There are some fascinating historical figures in Gahanna, and most of them that aren't known are notably women. We have a great history display that I welcome all of you to come visit at the Ohio Herb Center, featuring all of the prominent women. I call them our herb ladies, who kind of led the way in charge of developing a lot of really interesting things for us here in our community. Most notably, Lucy Seeds, who was the first female Parks and Rec director, and who we wouldn't have our Gahanna Woods Nature Preserve without. So I welcome you all to come and take a look at the history display that we keep up and talk about the important history that women have done here, the work that they've done here in Gahanna at the Ohio Herb Center while we're celebrating our 50th year as the herb capital of Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
Okay, we have the resolution before us, but I understand there might be a technicality inside the resolution that needs to
The
be,
first woman, that would be the thing that needs to be changed. That's all. It'll take nothing. We could be done very quickly.
is that like a scribbler's change, or is that a change that we need to amend here?
I mean, it's just a resolution, so it's whatever you guys want. So if you want to, whatever you approve is what's going to be presented as the resolution. So.
It's your resolution. What would you like to do?
I certainly wish this had been brought to our attention.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I apologize for
And
that.
so
I would have.
I'm happy to present this resolution with the amendment in the whereas clause related to Lucy Seeds, that she was the first female director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Gahanna.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'd present the resolution with that amendment.
Okay. We have a motion for the amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Angelou. Any discussion?
I'd like to say this, that Bunny Giroux was really, did everything for the idea of coming to herbs and those things. And I can remember her saying she wanted to bring a business to when Clark Hall was there, and bring in all of those people that do herb things, like even, when you buy them in the store. And she wasn't able to do that, but she was a champion in terms of wanting that to happen. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? This is on the amendment to the resolution. Okay, Madam Chair, roll call, please.
Bowers,
Yes?
Angelou,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Schnitzer,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, on the resolution itself, is there any further discussion on the resolution itself as amended? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Schnitzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, item G, ordinances for second reading and adoption. The first ordinance is 008, it just caught me that the same numbering of the resolution. 8-2022, an ordinance to repeal and replace Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 135, Department of Public Service and Engineering, Sections 135.03 to 135.08, and replace with Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 133, Department of Finance, Section 133.02 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Gahanna. Do I have a motion to pass this ordinance?
So moved.
Have a first by Mr. Schnitzer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Weaver. Any discussion?
This was talked about at the Committee of the Whole, and there's an amendment to this, and I believe there's a red line version of the amendment where it says to repeal and replace. That's a technicality. It's really not a replacement because it's not going into the same section. It's starting another section, so it's just repealing. And so this one is just repealing 135. Then later on, the replacement is in a different section, so it's not a repeal and a replace. That's why that amendment was mentioned in the Committee of the Whole and is reflected, I believe, in this ordinance.
It's in the ordinance as published, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
The red line version is attached.
Red line version.
okay,
Yes.
understood. Thank you for that clarification. Any further discussion?
Yes, I'll move to amend the resolution pursuant to the red line contained in our packet, such that we're striking the replacement language. So it will just be an ordinance to repeal Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 135, Department of Public Service and Engineering, Sections 135.03 to 135.08, with the additional red lines identified in that document.
Got it. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Schnitzer. Any discussion on this amendment?
Do we need to strike the replace in the next section, or is that okay? After where Marissa just read?
Yeah, my amendment encompasses all of the edits contained in the red line.
Okay.
If you want me to read them all, I'd be happy to. Okay, thank you.
No, it's just, it says replace right after where you stopped, and I didn't know if you were taking that replace out too.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes?
Schnitzer,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes?
Weaver,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
Okay. Now, on the ordinance itself, as amended, do I have, let's see, we had a first and a second, so any further discussion on that? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Schnitzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes?
Angelou,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes?
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Next ordinance, 0009, 2022, an ordinance to repeal and remove Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 133, Department of Finance, Section 133.02, vending machine income of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a first by Mrs. Angelou,
Second.
second by Mr. Snetzer. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Angelou,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner.
Yes. Thank you. Last of this section, 10-2022, an ordinance to adopt Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 133, Department of Finance, Section 133.02, purchasing procedures of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Mr. Snetzer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Weaver. Any discussion?
Yes, just briefly.
Okay.
I just wanted to thank Director Burry for all of your hard work that you put into this and for your patience with our questions. You explained this extraordinarily well, and I appreciate the clarity and the work that you put into this, so thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner.
Yes. Thank you. Item H, ordinances for introduction, waiver, emergency, and adoption. After a process, we have found a candidate to replace our clerk who left. And there's going to be an announcement once we finally get the particulars of the onboarding process completed. But this ordinance is to appoint that person to the new role. And Pam, thank you very much for your service and your duty for this. The appointment date will be, as of this time, it's March 14th. Ordinance 12-2022, an ordinance to appoint Jeremy Van Meter as Clerk of Council for the City of Gahanna, waiving second reading and to declare an emergency. Do I have a first to approve?
So moved.
As first by Mr. Weaver. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bowers. Any discussion?
I just want to thank Council President Renner and Director of Administrative Services Miranda Vollmer for your work on helping this process go as smoothly as it did. We had an outstanding pool of applicants, and I'm very grateful that we had those choices, and I'm very excited about the the work ahead with Jeremy, and I think that he's going to serve us well. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you. And that's actually well said. Thank you, Miranda, for everything that you've done and actually being able to on-call and text during this process. So deeply appreciated. Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Angelou.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Item I, correspondence and actions. Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Having none? Okay, council colleagues? Okay, we're moving through. Item J, representatives, Community Improvement Corporation, CIC. Our next meeting was actually supposed to be March 15th, but it has now moved to March 22nd, same time and same location. Is that correct, Nate? The location being the committee room to my left, and at 8 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, Morpsey, Ms. Angelou.
Yes, this week is our normal commission time, but I have a couple things that I will say tonight. Neil Jurist, our MORPC Senior Director of Communications and Engagement, was named an Outstanding Diversity Champion by Columbus Business First, which is a wonderful thing for her. This Thursday, the MORPC Board Member Luncheon is with Director Lydia Mihalik, Department of Development, State of Ohio. From 12 to 1:15, the commission will have the March meeting at 1:30 to 3 o'clock. The State of the Region is coming up on Wednesday, March 16th at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. We're actually going to have one we haven't had one for 2 years. That's person to person. We had one that was canceled in 20, and in 21, it was done virtually. So this is wonderful for us to have this back, and I think we're almost sold out. It's called From Possibility to Reality. That's the theme, and the keynote speaker is Andy Burke, Special Representative for Broadband National Telecommunication and Information Administration. So he is going to be here the night before, and we get to go to dinner with him and find out all he wants to talk about with broadband, which is a huge thing that's going on in the state of Ohio. On February 25th, I did go to the Voorhees Economic Development Incentives Conference, which was, it was a really good conference, I thought, and it was great for building relationships. It was wonderful to see Mayor Jadwin there, and Director Strong, and Councilman Trent Weaver, and Jennifer Chrysler from New Albany Community Development City also, and also a City of Gahanna constituent. And she was on the panel, the very first panel. Eric Phillips was there, and he's the Economic Development Director and Chamber of CEO, Union County Chamber of Commerce. Mayor Kessler from Bexley was there, so it was really kind of looking at people that we've seen a long time and haven't seen maybe a whole lot lately, and it was really a wonderful opportunity to see what's going on in terms of economic development, and I was happy to get a ride home with our economic development person. So I also would like to thank Councilman Weaver, very honestly. He spoke to Joyce Spady concerning the death of Joe Spanovich. And because of that, she wrote this beautiful tribute to his life. And it was very well received when I was able to give it to the family. And I want to thank you very much for doing that, because you didn't have to do that, and you did that, and it's a wonderful thing that you did. That's all I have.
Thank you. I'd like to see that sometime.
Well, the family has it, and it is beautiful. It's.
Get a copy.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. The MORPC Regional Policy Roundtable, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing really additional for me. Also, as Councilmember Angelou indicated, participated in the Voorhees Economic Development Conference last week. Learned a lot, and there's a lot of really great opportunities occurring throughout the state and occurring right here in Central Ohio. And it was great to hear a lot of the same things from the panelists that we've heard from our own director and our own administration. So looking forward to good things for the city.
I forgot to say, Mayor, you were at this the sustainability 2 days ago?
I was.
So maybe you would like to talk about that a little, or maybe you're going to do it in your own.
I can do it in my comments, that's fine.
Okay.
Whatever is the will of council.
And I don't think you're ready to go yet, are you, Mr. Schnetzer? Because you have one that's coming up later in the fall that you're going to be working with, MORPC. You're not going to do?
Not finalized yet.
Oh, it's not finalized yet. Okay,
Still
my
working on
mistake. Well, actually, none of these are. So thank you. Thank you for
Getting a little off agenda. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Ms. Padova.
Thank you. Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival tickets are on sale now. You may purchase online at creeksidebluesandjazz.com. The tickets purchased between now and March 15th are $5 off, and the discount is reflected in the current price listing on the website. After March 15th, the ticket price will increase by $5 each. New this year, children ages 10 and under will be admitted for free with a paid adult, so that's very exciting. There are still spots available this Thursday for the class at the Ohio Herb Center called Herbal Culinary Creations. You can register on the ohioherbcenter.org, and it is at 7 p.m. this Thursday. There is also a class called Pressed Flower Art on Saturday, March 26th at 12 p.m. That has a few openings left, and they will likely sell out. Also, today is the last day to register for Visit Gahanna's annual meeting this Friday. That's all for me.
Thank you. School Board, Ms. Bowers.
Nothing to report this time, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item K, official reports. Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. And I will respond to Councilwoman Angelou's, whatever you threw to me. I don't know. It's been a long day. As she noted last week, I did attend a resident-based environmental sustainability forum that was actually held at the Morpsey offices. Dan Wilson, our operations manager in public service and engineering, attended with me along with Zach Cowan, our planning and zoning administrator. They were there because they are two members of the internal task force that has been working on developing a sustainability plan, which we hope to bring to council probably in about 30 days or so. It was a great conversation. There were 9 communities that presented or offered presentations of what they were working on within their communities. It was, I think, insightful, informative to see the creative ways people are pursuing sustainability initiatives within their communities. I think we walked away with some really great ideas of some things that maybe weren't in our plan that they can still have time to incorporate into the plan before it comes before all of you and then moves on to public input. So great dialogue. Look forward to the continued participation in that group. Just wanted to note, I know our communications manager, Karen Wester, sent an email out to council this morning just updating you, but wanted to speak to it as well because there have been a lot of social media comments and inquiries being made. The search for the young man who was last seen at Big Walnut Creek actually 2 weeks ago this evening continued this past weekend, involved trained search and rescue teams, police officers, fire service personnel, as well as family and community members. We continue, I know our Chief Spence has spent a great deal of time with this young man's family and members of the Somalian community to keep them involved and updated in what's going on. And the operations continue to be closely coordinated. There are multiple agencies that have been and continue to be involved in this. Gahanna Division of Police, Mifflin Township Fire, Mifflin Township EMS, Columbus Division of Fire, Columbus Police, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, West Licking County has been involved, as well as several other agencies. Search efforts will continue to scale up or down based on information that is obtained, as information evolves, I should say, and certainly as the weather, environmental conditions allow us. The rain we had today certainly will obviously hamper our efforts to get back down into the creek area. We will continue to post updates on both the city's Facebook page as well as the Division of Police's Facebook page. That's the best place for community members to go for updates. As soon as we have information to share, we will put it there. Let's see. Also, I'd like to thank Director Burry, who just stepped out, with Director Vollmer, as well as Finance Manager Corey Weisenberger and City Attorney Ray Malarski for all of their work on the procurement policy. There were many ayes and many drafts of that thing that went back and forth before it came to council. And I'd like to thank you, council, for adopting and passing that this evening. I think the new policy not only ensures that we will be in compliance with federal guidelines, given our receipt of federal funds, but I think we can all admit that there has been lack of clarity around how to interpret our code. Our code has been inconsistent. It has been hard to understand. It's been contradictory. And this new policy will give us clarity. It'll ensure consistency in what we are doing and how we are operating, both administratively and how we bring things forward to council. So I applaud the efforts and collaborative efforts between the administration and council in making that happen. Also, just to reiterate, State of the City is 2 weeks from Thursday, March 24th, from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the Peak at Edison. It is free to attend. We will ask for just some RSVPs so we can make sure we have enough chairs and refreshments and things like that. So there will be an RSVP tag hopefully put up on the website in the next day or two. Also, just looking out, since we were talking about sustainability, to put on your calendar, April 23rd, which is Earth Day celebrating, at least within the city. That will be our Shred It and E-Recycling event here at City Hall. I know that's an event that a lot of our residents look forward to every year. I have boxes ready, lined up to bring that day myself, but it's a fantastically organized event that our Public Service Department does. So please put that note on your date, and I know there's also going to be some other events circling that day. Make Gahanna Yours is planning some litter pickups, and I know we're reaching out to them to try to maybe expand the breadth of that as well.
Could you repeat that date?
April 23rd.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And finally, I don't know if this will sound self-serving, I don't mean it to be, but Friday was National Employee Appreciation Day. And we had we have a fund committee that's comprised of several members of our team here to find ways that integrates our team. We have team members in, I don't know, 3 or 4 different facilities around the city. They always don't get to know each other, and especially as we have added staff, they don't always get to meet one another. So there was a bingo game that was designed to get people to connect and what have you. But I just really want to say, I get asked a lot, what's it like to be mayor, or is it, how are you enjoying it? And what I always say is this city is truly blessed to have an incredible team of people who work for the residents and for the businesses of this community. They come to work every day. They are dedicated and committed to Gahanna. They go above and beyond. And we don't always get everything right. We don't always, sometimes we miss an email. Sometimes we try as hard as we can, but we will always do whatever we can to serve our residents, whether it's, and I have them all written down, public safety, public service and engineering, parks and recreation, planning, development, HR, IT, finance, communications and marketing, mayor's court, and our council office. These folks are just amazing with their love and their passion for Gahanna. It's an honor to work with them every day. We have several members of our leadership team here tonight. Chief Spence, Director Wynn, Karen Wester, our communications manager, Grant Crawford, John Moorhead, Nate Strum, and of course, Miranda Vollmer and Joanne Burry left. And I just really needed to give a shout out to them, especially the last 2 years have been really challenging. It's been just, 2020 was constant turn, pivot, readjust. They weathered that storm, continued to weather that storm through 2021. Lots of projects on everybody's plates, but they show up every day with a smile on their face most of the days. But they do a great job, and I just wanted to commend them. So that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Angela.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney.
Nothing other than what will be discussed at the executive session.
Understood. Thank you. All right. Item L, council comment. Ms. Angelou.
I have none.
Okay. Mrs. McGregor.
I just have a quick story. I answer the questions that come in through the history book or the Gahanna history website, and a lot of times they're about a specific house, and we don't really have records like that. But the last week we got one from a man who asked about the meteor that he sees as a tombstone. He says for about 30 years he's walked by this tombstone, and the legend is, he's heard that it was a meteor, and did I know whether it was or not? And in the Gahanna history book, there's a story about the man. He lived over on Stelzer Road, and he was plowing his field, and the meteor came down and landed in the ground. And he told his sons when he was buried he wanted that to be the tombstone. And so there's a tombstone in Mifflin Cemetery. Well, I had heard this for a long time. So probably about early 2000s, I emailed Dale Nidovec. I may not get that right, but he writes a geology column in the Sunday Dispatch. And he's in charge of Orton Hall at Ohio State. And I emailed him and told him about the story and the tombstone. And I asked him if he knew anything about it. Well, he came out and looked at it and said it's not a meteor. And I forget what kind of rock it is, but he said it's not a meteor. And I don't know, I don't doubt that the story was true, but it could have been it disintegrated and another rock was found near it, and they thought that's what it was. But anyway. But I told him, I said, but it's been the story for so long. I said, there's a line from the movie Who Shot Liberty Valance, and it says, when the legend becomes the fact, print the legend. And so he said, I'm going to keep believing it's a meteor. So, anyway, it was finally a question that I could actually answer, and I was very happy about that. That's all I have.
Thank you. It's a nice reminder that, you know, we do all the city functions, but yet there's all these stories that we don't know about and that need to be retold. So thank you for that. Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I hope I speak for, if not all the members of the community, but many of them that took some time to enjoy the nice warm weather this weekend, get out and about, and it felt good to be around people. I even saw my colleague, Mr. Schnetzer, out at Home Depot, both of us doing some damage to our wallets. That's the joys of spring and more errands coming. But it was nice to see everyone out and about. I want to say a special thank you to our deputy clerk, but our interim clerk, Pam, for all of her efforts over the past, gosh, it's got to be almost 6 weeks now, doing double duty. And I want that to be recognized. And so thank you. And I look forward to welcoming our new clerk when he does get here. And I think, and then lastly, I would like to thank my colleague, Ms. Bowers, for all of her efforts with the resolutions. That is a time-consuming ordeal, and I think it's one that is appreciated and celebrated by the community. So thank you to our visitors for being here today. It's heartwarming for us up here to see the community out and about, and so it does not go unnoticed, Ms. Bowers, so thank you. That's it for me, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Badova.
Thank you, President Renner. I'd also like to thank Vice President Bowers and everyone who helped with the Women's History Month resolution. International Women's Day is tomorrow, March 8th, and it's a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. Across all levels of government in the state of Ohio, only 29% of elected officials are women. So I would like to take a moment to recognize that I am sitting on a majority female council here next to also our female mayor. So I would like to encourage all of you to both celebrate and accelerate women's equality, not only tomorrow, but every day. I would also like to thank our community for the continued support of GRIN. I am the food pantry manager there, and after last Wednesday's pantry, we weren't sure that we were going to have enough meat for our next pantry on Saturday. We spread the word, crossed our fingers, hoped that we would get the donations, and as some of you may have seen on our social media, within just a few days, we received 550 pounds of donated meat at a time when meat prices are on the rise, to say the least. So our community is truly something special, and just want to thank everyone who donated and helped spread the word and get those donations so that we could help all of our neighbors out there. That's all for me.
Thank you. Mr. Schnetzer.
Yeah, I guess this will sound a bit redundant, piggybacking off of Mr. Weaver's comments. It was good to get out and about, enjoyed the weather, enjoyed the trails. Thanks to all the city staff that maintains and keeps those trails clear. Went out for several walks, several bike rides, saw a lot of the neighbors, a lot of dogs. We had to stop with the boys and see every single puppy that was along the way, so our miles per hour was quite slow. You know, one of our sort of weekly traditions on the weekend is the neighbors informally get together. We just see each other out, and that tradition started up again. Not a single home improvement or yard improvement effort is ever made in isolation. It's kind of a committee decision, and so we were out there seeking counsel amongst the neighbors for some projects that we've got coming up here. So also, it's good to see a semi-full room here, some of our familiar faces pulling speaker slips. It's starting to feel like we're getting back to normal. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Bowers.
Yes, thank you. Let me start by also recognizing the Gahanna Historical Society and the work of Carrie Hawk, Kylie Miller, and Councilwoman McGregor for your work in preserving Gahanna's history as well. I wanted to note that I think that Amanda works in conjunction with the Historical Society on occasion. And so these efforts are not done in isolation, and I wanted to make sure that we recognize that. Thank you again to our guest Pledge of Allegiance leader, Ann Wilson from Boy Scout Troop 456. I think it's incredible that as we celebrate Women's History Month and International Women's Day, that we're showing how things are being done differently today. And your involvement in the Boy Scouts is a testimony to that. Let me just briefly extend my thoughts and concern to the family of Ali Shigao. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but to Ali's family and to the first responders who've been involved in those search efforts. I know that this is very hard on the community for lots of reasons, and I am grateful that we've had a lot of responsiveness from the Department of Public Safety, not just here in Gahanna, but regionally with all teams that are involved in that search. And I know that we hope to bring closure to the family and a conclusion to this matter shortly. So we'll keep praying and sending good thoughts that comes to a resolution. Thank you to Ms. Montgomery for speaking tonight. We always learn something from your comments, so I appreciate you being here again. Ms. Hoffman, it's wonderful to see you and to hear your feedback. I will connect with you on your questions. There's some information that I'm gathering too, particularly as to cost of implementation and enforcement, and then we can connect on some of the other questions around that too. I know that, before I was on council, you and I had talked specifically about how attending committee of the whole meetings was actually kind of where you actually heard more about the discussion and more engagement. I look forward to addressing your question about adding community participation to committee of the whole with my colleagues and seeing if there's an opportunity to add that in some way. I think that concludes my remarks. Again, thank you, Ms. Ferguson, for being here tonight.
Well, is going last. I think everybody on the colleagues have actually said everything very well, and I don't think I really have anything extra to add, except for service. We keep talking about it, and what is public service and service to our community. And I guess I just wanted to close with something that Mother Teresa said, that the miracle is not that we do this work, but that we are happy to do it. And I believe that really summarizes the hearts of everybody that's actually up here on the dais. Okay, item M, we're going into executive session. We actually have two causes to go. I'm going to read those. We don't have anything that we're coming back to vote on, any kind of legislative action. To go into executive session under authority of Section 5.40C of the Council Rules of Procedure to confer with the city attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Also going into executive session under authority Section 5.40D of the Council Rules of Procedure to prepare for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. I do have a motion to go into executive session for those two items.
So moved.
Have a first by Mr. Snetzer. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Weaver. Any discussion? Pam, please call the roll.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Angelou,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Thank you. We now will go into executive session. Mayor, City Attorney, is the library room enough, or should we default to that?
I would think probably the committee room.
Okay, the committee rooms. And what guests, who are you wanting to bring?
John Moorhead and Grant Crawford join us.